Seeds of ambition, Professor Lancaster's voice cut through the presentation room like a blade. Miss Sharma, while your enthusiasm is commendable, your proposal is fundamentally detached from market realities. Priya Sharma stood at the front of the classroom, her prototype solar battery, the result of 18 sleepless nights, sitting lifeless on the table before her. The snickers from the back row felt like tiny daggers in her confidence. With all due respect, Professor, the market is changing, she replied, her voice steadier than her hands. Traditional energy storage solutions won't meet future demands. My design uses recyclable materials and increases efficiency by 28%. Theory, Ms. Sharma. Just theory. Professor Lancaster adjusted his glasses. No investor would risk capital on such speculative technology. I suggest focusing on incremental improvements to existing systems for your final project. As she gathered her materials, whispers floated through the air. Sharma's living in a fantasy world again, someone muttered, loud enough for her to hear. Ethan Blackwood, the department's golden boy whose father owned 3 energy companies, approached her as she packed up. Hey, Priya, don't take it personally. Lancaster's just saving you from embarrassment in the real world. Not everyone can be a visionary. His condescending smile made her stomach turn. Thanks for the concern, she replied coolly. But I'll take my chances with embarrassment. Back in her tiny apartment, shared with 2 other engineering students who rarely saw her outside of meals, Priya spread her designs across her desk. The rejection stung, but it wasn't new. Since her first day at Westlake Engineering Institute, her ideas had been deemed too ambitious, too unconventional, too risky. Her roommate Jess popped her head in. Heard about Lancaster's class? Rough day? Priya nodded without looking up. There's a party at Riverstone Hall tonight. You should come. Might help take your mind off things. Thanks, but I need to rework these calculations. Jess sighed. Priya, you can't keep isolating yourself with these projects. What's the point of creating the future if you're not living in the present? After Jess left, Priya stared at her prototype. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was chasing impossible dreams while her classmates were securing their futures with practical internships and connections. Her phone buzzed with a message from her mother in Mumbai. Beta, how was your presentation? Priya hesitated before replying, Still some work to do. Professor thinks it's too ambitious. The response came quickly. Your father said the same about my restaurant, and now we have 3. Sharma women don't shrink their dreams to fit other people's imagination. Smiling, Priya turned back to her work. By midnight, she had applied for 3 research grants and submitted her proposal to a small, sustainable technology competition. The odds were against her, they always had been, but something inside wouldn't let her give up. The following week, rejection emails arrived one after another. The technology competition politely informed her that while her idea showed promise, they were looking for more developed concepts. 2 grants declined without specific feedback. During the department's spring showcase, Priya stood alone at her modest display while crowds gathered around Ethan's incremental improvement to lithium battery cooling systems. Dean Wilson stopped briefly at her station, glancing at her designs with thinly veiled skepticism. Interesting approach, Ms. Sharma, but perhaps overly optimistic about material availability and cost efficiency. I've sourced alternative materials, sir, she explained, pulling out her research. The initial investment would be higher, but the longevity and sustainability factors create better long-term value. The dean nodded politely before moving on, clearly unconvinced. Later that evening, as Priya was packing up her untouched information, Packets, a slim man in a charcoal suit, approached her station. Unlike the professors and industry representatives who'd passed by earlier, he actually picked up her prototype, examining it with genuine curiosity. This is fascinating, he said, his voice quiet but intense. You're approaching the energy density problem from an entirely different angle. Priya eyed him suspiciously, expecting another polite dismissal. It's unconventional. Unconventional is exactly what this industry needs. He extended his hand. I'm Nathan Reeves, junior analyst at Horizon Ventures. Would you mind explaining how you've addressed the degradation issues that usually plague these materials? For the first time that day, Priya felt a spark of hope as she began to explain her work to someone who was actually listening. Unexpected Ally Nathan Reeves wasn't supposed to be at the Westlake Engineering Institute's spring showcase. As a junior analyst at Horizon Ventures, he'd been tasked with reviewing quarterly reports while his supervisor attended the event. But when Mr. Donovan came down with food poisoning, Nathan found himself thrust into the role of talent scout with minimal preparation. Just look for the usual prospects, Mr. Donovan had wheezed over the phone. Safe investments, proven concepts, strong market applications, nothing too experimental. Yet after 2 hours of watching presentations that merely tweaked existing technologies, Nathan felt a profound disappointment. He'd entered venture capital with dreams of funding innovation, not incremental improvements. Just as he was about to leave, he spotted a lonely booth in the corner with an unusual prototype that caught his eye. The conversation with Priya Sharma lasted long after the showcase ended. They relocated to a small coffee shop near campus, where Priya's initial wariness gave way to passionate explanations. Her hands moved animatedly as she sketched improvements on napkins, eyes bright with conviction. The issue isn't just energy. Storage, she explained, drawing another diagram. It's about creating a system that doesn't deplete finite resources or create disposal problems down the line. Everyone's so focused on immediate output that they ignore long-term sustainability. Nathan nodded, captivated not just by the concept but by her undeniable belief in it. But what about the scalability concerns Professor Lancaster mentioned? Priya's expression darkened. Lancaster views everything through the lens of current manufacturing capabilities. But manufacturing evolves when compelled by superior designs. She pushed forward another napkin sketch. Look at these modular components. They can be produced with existing equipment, just configured differently. As the coffee shop began closing, Nathan realized he'd filled his notebook with hastily scribbled notes and questions. This wasn't the safe investment Mr. Donovan had sent him to find, but something stirred in him. A recognition of potential that transcended conventional metrics. I need to be honest with you, he said as they stepped into the cool evening air. Horizon typically invests in more established technologies. Your concept is, well, it's beyond what they usually consider. Priya's shoulders slumped slightly, but she nodded. I understand. Thanks anyway for taking the time. But, Nathan continued, I believe in what you're doing. My influence at the firm is limited. But I can help you refine your pitch, connect you with some smaller innovation grants that might be more receptive. She studied his face, searching for insincerity. Why would you do that? Nathan considered. The question. Why indeed? His career advancement certainly didn't depend on helping an undergrad student with a rejected project. Yet something about Priya's determination resonated with his own suppressed ambitions. Because 10 years from now, when your technology is revolutionizing energy storage, I want to say I saw it first, he answered with a smile. Purely selfish motivation. Over the following weeks, Nathan carved out time from his demanding schedule to help Priya. They met on weekends in the same coffee shop, refining her presentation, analyzing potential markets, and addressing technical objections. Nathan taught her the language of investors, how to translate brilliant engineering into compelling business opportunities. You need to start with the problem, not the solution, he advised, rearranging her slides. Make them feel the pain point before you offer relief. Priya was a quick study, absorbing the business concepts as rapidly as she mastered engineering principles. But she remained skeptical of compromising her vision. These investors you're preparing me for, will they expect me to water down the sustainability aspects? She asked one Sunday afternoon. Because I won't do that. It's the entire point. Nathan appreciated her integrity. The right investors will value that commitment. We just need to demonstrate that principles and profits can coexist. Their collaborative sessions weren't without friction. Priya's stubborn idealism occasionally clashed with Nathan's practical market considerations. During one heated debate about material sourcing, she accused him of thinking too conventionally. If everyone follows existing pathways, how does innovation ever happen? She challenged. Innovation without implementation is just imagination, he countered. I'm trying to help you build a bridge between your vision and reality. Despite these tensions, a deeper understanding developed between them. Nathan found himself increasingly invested in Priya's success, while she began to value his perspective on bringing revolutionary ideas to market. Their breakthrough came when Nathan convinced a former professor with connections to the renewable energy sector to review Priya's work. Dr. Harrington's feedback was transformative. She identified specific applications where Priya's technology could address immediate industry challenges while developing toward her broader vision. Armed with this guidance, Nathan helped Priya apply for a specialized grant from the Emerging Energy Solutions Foundation. When the notification of her selection as a finalist arrived, Priya called Nathan immediately. "They want me to present to their committee next month," she said, her voice vibrating with excitement. "This is actually happening." Nathan felt a surge of pride, tinged with something more complex. In the weeks they'd worked together, his admiration for Priya had grown beyond professional respect. Her brilliance, determination, and unwavering principles attracted him in ways he hadn't anticipated. "We should celebrate," he suggested. "Dinner somewhere that doesn't serve coffee in paper cups." There was a brief pause before Priya answered. "I'd like that. But Nathan, is this still about the project?" The question hung between them, acknowledging the unspoken shift in their dynamic. "The project matters," he replied carefully. "But so does the person behind it." As they prepared for both the grant presentation and their first real date, neither could have predicted how their paths would diverge before crossing again, or how the seeds of partnership planted in those early meetings would eventually grow into something neither had imagined possible. Separate paths, shared dreams. The Emerging Energy Solutions Foundation grant changed everything. Priya's presentation, polished through countless practice sessions with Nathan, captured not just the committee's interest, but their imagination. The funding wasn't enormous, but it was enough to establish a small research lab and hire 2 part-time assistants from the engineering department. "Congratulations, Ms. Sharma," said the foundation's director, handing her the ceremonial check. "We're investing not just in your technology, but in your vision for a more sustainable future." Priya searched the audience for Nathan, finding his encouraging smile in the third row. Later, at the reception, he navigated through congratulatory clusters to reach her. "You were brilliant," he said, eyes shining with genuine pride. "We were brilliant," she corrected, squeezing his hand. "I wouldn't be here without your help." Their relationship had blossomed alongside the project, cautious at first, then deepening with shared purpose and mutual respect. But as Priya's work gained momentum, Nathan faced his own crossroads at Horizon Ventures. "Tokyo," Priya repeated when he told her about the transfer offer. "For how long?" 2 years minimum, Nathan replied, watching her expression carefully. "They're expanding their Asian technology division, and they want someone who can identify emerging trends in renewable energy." The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Nathan's advocacy for Priya's work had demonstrated his eye for innovation, earning him this opportunity, an opportunity that would take him halfway around the world. "You have to take it," Priya said after a long silence. "This is exactly what you've wanted, to be involved with cutting-edge technologies instead of safe investments." "What about us?" The question hung between them, heavy with possibilities and constraints. They were seated in their favorite corner of Riverside Park, autumn leaves swirling around their bench. Priya's research lab was just beginning to yield promising results, requiring her constant presence. Nathan's career was opening doors that couldn't remain open indefinitely. "I think," Priya said slowly, "that we both need to follow our paths right now. See where they lead." Nathan nodded, understanding the wisdom even as his heart resisted it. "Long distance?" "More like parallel journeys," she suggested. "No promises we can't keep, no holding each other back, just two people supporting each other's dreams, whatever form that takes." The following months brought a flurry of changes. Nathan relocated to Tokyo, immersing himself in Asia's burgeoning clean energy ecosystem. Priya expanded her research, refining prototypes and addressing the manufacturing challenges Professor Lancaster had once deemed insurmountable. Their communication evolved with their circumstances. Video calls when time zones aligned, voice, messages when they didn't, lengthy emails detailing breakthroughs and setbacks. Sometimes weeks passed between conversations, but each reconnection reinforced their unique understanding of each other's ambitions. "The Chinese firm I mentioned is revolutionizing battery manufacturing," Nathan told her during one late night call. "Their approach might solve your production scaling issues." Priya nodded eagerly, making notes. "Could you send me their public research papers? My team has been struggling with exactly that problem." These exchanges formed a bridge between their worlds, though personal intimacies gradually gave way to professional collaboration. Neither mentioned the subtle shift, accepting it as a natural evolution of their arrangement. A year into their separation, Priya faced her first major setback. A crucial component of her storage system degraded faster than projected under extreme conditions, threatening the viability of her entire approach. "Everything we've built might be fundamentally flawed," she admitted to Nathan, her voice tight with exhaustion after 3 days without sleep. Instead of platitudes, he offered perspective. "Remember Dr. Harrington's feedback? Your system doesn't need to work in every condition immediately. Focus on the applications where it excels, then expand from there." His practical wisdom helped her pivot, developing a specialized version for moderate climate regions while researching alternative materials for extreme environments. This strategic flexibility attracted attention from a small environmental technology incubator, offering Priya additional funding and business development support. Meanwhile, Nathan's role at Horizon evolved from analyst to strategic advisor. His recommendations led the firm to several successful investments in renewable technologies across Southeast Asia. Yet, despite his growing reputation, he found himself increasingly restless within the constraints of corporate venture capital. "They still prioritize short-term returns over transformative potential," he confided to Priya. "I'm tired of watching revolutionary ideas get diluted into acceptable investments." "So what are you going to do about it?" she challenged, echoing the same question he'd once asked her. The question catalyzed a decision that had been forming in Nathan's mind. When his Tokyo assignment ended, instead of returning to Horizon's main office as expected, he submitted his resignation and used his savings to establish Catalyst Partners, a boutique investment firm specifically focused on disruptive clean technologies. "You inspired this," he told Priya during their first call after his announcement. "Seeing your commitment to your vision made me examine my own." She laughed, the sound brightening his sparse new office. "So we're both struggling." "Entrepreneurs now? Your parents must be thrilled." "About as thrilled as yours were when you turned down that corporate research position," he replied with a smile. Their parallel journeys continued, punctuated by occasional intersections at international conferences or industry events. During a renewable energy summit in Singapore, they managed to steal an evening away from networking obligations, finding themselves at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the illuminated cityscape. "Do you ever wonder," Priya asked after their second glass of wine, "what would have happened if you hadn't stopped at my booth that day?" Nathan considered the question, watching the play of lights across her face. 3 years had passed since Their first meeting, adding new dimensions to her confidence and determination. I'd probably be a senior analyst at Horizon, investing in sensible technologies with predictable returns, he answered. Comfortable, successful even, but not fulfilled. And I'd still be fighting to be taken seriously, probably teaching somewhere, while developing my research on nights and weekends, she added. Their eyes met in shared understanding of how profoundly they had influenced each other's trajectories, even from a distance. The evening ended with lingering possibilities, but both returned to their separate paths the following morning. Priya to her expanding research team, Nathan to the challenging early days of his investment firm. Neither could have predicted that. 18 months later, these paths would converge again under circumstances that would transform both their professional and personal relationships. Their parallel journeys were about to intersect in ways that would challenge everything they thought they knew about ambition, partnership, and the price of dreams. The Reunion Project 5. Years after their first meeting, Priya's promising startup Renewable Integration Solutions was running out of money. Despite groundbreaking advances in sustainable energy storage technology, the path to commercial viability had proven longer and more expensive than anticipated. Her team of 12 dedicated engineers worked from a converted warehouse on the outskirts of San Francisco, their revolutionary prototypes humming with potential, but struggling to attract the major investment needed for manufacturing scale-up. "We have 4 months of runway left," announced Devi Kapoor, Priya's pragmatic CFO, during their weekly leadership meeting. "The Series B funding round isn't generating the interest we hoped for." Priya rubbed her temples, fighting exhaustion. "What's the feedback from potential investors?" Devi slid across a tablet displaying their most recent rejection. "Same as the others. They love the technology, but think the market adoption timeline is too extended. They want faster returns." The irony wasn't lost on Priya. Her technology had evolved from a ridiculed student project to a proven innovation that could revolutionize how renewable energy was stored and distributed. Yet the very quality that made it revolutionary, its long-term sustainability approach, made traditional investors hesitate. "We're not compromising on the core design," Priya stated firmly. "If that means we need to downsize or—" She was interrupted by Raj Mehta, their business development director. "Before we discuss layoffs, there's something you should know. I received a call this morning from a firm called Catalyst Partners. They specialize in clean technology investments and requested a meeting. Apparently, their founder specifically asked about our work." Priya froze at the familiar name. "Catalyst Partners? Did you speak with Nathan Reeves?" Raj's eyebrows rose. "Yes, actually. You know him?" "We've crossed paths," Priya replied, keeping her tone neutral despite the sudden acceleration of her heartbeat. "Set up the meeting." Later that evening, alone in her office, Priya found herself scrolling through old emails and messages exchanged with Nathan. Their communication had dwindled over the past 2 years as both became consumed with building their respective ventures. Occasional holiday greetings and congratulatory notes on published research or announced investments had replaced their once frequent exchanges. She'd followed Nathan's career from afar, watching as Catalyst Partners established itself as a respected, if unconventional player in clean technology investment. Their portfolio favored transformative solutions over quick returns, earning a reputation for identifying innovations that larger firms overlooked. The meeting was scheduled for the following week. Priya immersed herself in preparation, reviewing financials and refining presentations with uncharacteristic anxiety. When questioned by her team about her intensity, she explained it as the pressure of their financial situation, never mentioning her history with their potential investor. On the appointed day, Priya arrived early at the sleek downtown office, building housing Catalyst Partners. The reception area featured living walls of greenery and interactive displays showcasing the environmental impact of their portfolio companies, a visual representation of Nathan's investment philosophy. "Priya Sharma," announced a familiar voice. and she turned to find Nathan standing in the doorway to the conference room. 5 years had matured him. The junior analyst's eagerness had evolved into confident purpose, though his eyes still held the same intensity she remembered. His tailored suit contrasted with the casual attire she recalled from their coffee shop strategy sessions. "Nathan," she replied, extending her hand professionally despite the rush of memories. "Thank you for taking an interest in RIS." He shook her hand, his touch lingering a moment longer than necessary. "Let's say I've been following your progress for some time." The meeting began formally, with Priya presenting to Nathan and his investment team. She outlined their technology's evolution, current capabilities, and market positioning, careful to maintain a detached professionalism despite the weight of their shared history hanging unacknowledged between them. "Your energy density improvements are impressive," noted one of Nathan's analysts, examining the performance data. "But manufacturing costs remain significantly higher than conventional systems." "Initially, yes," Priya conceded, "but our total life cycle cost analysis shows the crossover point at 7 years, after which our system delivers substantial savings while eliminating the environmental impact of disposal." Nathan smiled slightly at her response. The same argument they had refined together years ago. "The question isn't whether your technology is superior," he said, leaning forward. "It unquestionably is. The question is whether the market is ready to prioritize long-term value over immediate cost savings. Some segments already are," Priya countered. "Our pilot installations with Green Core developments have demonstrated real-world performance that validates our projections." The technical discussion continued for hours, with Nathan's team probing every aspect of Priya's business. Unlike previous investor meetings, however, these questions centered on enhancing implementation rather than compromising vision. By late afternoon, Priya felt simultaneously exhausted and energized. "I think we have what we need for now," Nathan concluded, standing to signal the meeting's end. "My team will review everything and be in touch within a week." As the others filed out, he added, "Priya, do you have time for a private conversation?" Alone in the conference room, the professional facade between them softened. "Your company is doing remarkable work," Nathan said, leaning against the table. "Everything you envisioned in those early designs has evolved into something even more impressive. You've built something significant too," she acknowledged. "Catalyst Partners has a reputation for backing innovations others consider too ambitious." A smile tugged at his lips. "I had a good teacher in recognizing underappreciated potential." The air between them filled with unspoken questions until Priya broke the silence. "Why now, Nathan? You must have known about our funding rounds before this." He considered her question carefully. "Timing, partly. Catalyst has recently established a sustainability transformation fund specifically for technologies with extended horizon impacts." He paused. "But honestly, I wanted to be certain that when we reconnected, I could offer genuine value to what you've built, not just sentiment based on our history." "And now you can?" she asked, studying his expression. "I believe so. But there's something you should know before we proceed." Nathan handed her a folder. "This is our preliminary investment proposal. It's more comprehensive than a typical Series B participation." Priya opened the folder, scanning the document with widening eyes. "This is strategic partnership framework. Your proposing Catalyst becomes our primary investor with an integrated development approach. The technology you've created isn't just another product. It's a platform that could transform multiple industries," Nathan explained. "But bringing it to scale requires more than capital. It needs coordinated deployment across complementary sectors, regulatory navigation, and strategic market development. All things your portfolio companies could facilitate," Priya observed, quickly grasping the implications. "Exactly. We're proposing an ecosystem approach rather than isolated investment." Priya closed the folder, her mind racing. I need time to discuss this with my team. It's not just my decision. Of course, Nathan agreed. Take whatever time you need. The proposal isn't contingent on our past connection. It stands on the merits of your technology and our strategic vision. As Priya gathered her materials, a question lingered. And what about that past connection, Nathan? Where does it fit in all this? He met her gaze directly. That's a separate conversation I'd like to have. Outside these offices and away from term sheets. Perhaps dinner? Once you've reviewed the proposal? She nodded, feeling the familiar pull between professional opportunity and personal possibility. I'd like that. 3 days later, after intensive analysis with her leadership team, Priya accepted Catalyst's investment proposal. The partnership would provide not just the capital they desperately needed, but strategic integration with complementary technologies that could accelerate market adoption. That evening, over dinner at a quiet restaurant overlooking the bay, Priya and Nathan began the careful process of redefining their relationship, no longer student and mentor, no longer separated by geography and competing priorities, but potential partners in both business and perhaps something more. Neither could predict how this reunion would transform not just their companies, but the energy landscape itself. The seeds planted years ago at a college showcase were about to bloom into something far greater than either had imagined possible. Partners in Revolution. The announcement of Catalyst Partners' significant investment in renewable integration solutions sent ripples through the clean technology sector. Industry publications that had previously overlooked Priya's company now featured headlines like "Visionary Partnership Aims to Revolutionize Energy Storage" and "Catalyst's Bold Bet on Next-Generation Sustainability." Behind the publicity, the real work began. Nathan temporarily relocated to San Francisco, taking a hands-on role in implementing the strategic partnership. Priya's warehouse headquarters transformed into an innovation hub as engineers from complementary Catalyst portfolio companies joined collaborative development sessions. "The modular design is brilliant," remarked Toshiro Yamada, CEO of Nanogrid Technologies, examining Priya's latest prototype. "If we integrate our distributed management system, we could reduce implementation costs by 30%. These cross-pollination efforts yielded results faster than anyone anticipated. Within 6 months, manufacturing costs decreased while performance metrics improved. The runway that had been measured in weeks stretched into years, allowing Priya's team to focus on innovation rather than survival." Through it all, Priya and Nathan's relationship evolved alongside their business collaboration. Professional boundaries blurred during late-night strategy sessions that drifted into personal conversations. Weekend site visits to pilot installations became opportunities to rediscover each other outside the pressures that had once separated them. "I always knew your technology would succeed," Nathan told her as they watched sunset from a hillside overlooking their largest demonstration project, a community microgrid powered entirely by renewable sources. "But seeing it implemented like this, changing how people interact with energy, it exceeds even what I imagined." Priya leaned against his shoulder, contemplating the illuminated homes below. "Sometimes I still can't believe we're here. From rejection to revolution in 7 years. Speaking of rejection," Nathan said, his tone shifting to playfulness, "I recently received an invitation to speak at Westlake Engineering Institute's Innovation Symposium." Priya's eyebrows rose. "The same department that dismissed your unrealistic ideas now wants your expertise?" "Our expertise," he corrected. "They've invited both of us. The invitation specifically mentions RIS technology as pioneering work in sustainable energy systems." The irony wasn't lost on Priya. "Professor Lancaster must be thrilled," she remarked dryly. "Actually, he retired last year. But Dean Wilson is still there, the same one who barely glanced at your showcase display." Priya considered the opportunity. "Part of me wants to decline. out of principle. And the other part? She smiled slowly. Wants to show them exactly what unrealistic looks like when it changes the world. 3 months later, they returned to Westlake together. The campus hadn't changed much, but Priya had. No longer the uncertain student defending impractical dreams, but the confident CEO of a company valued at over $200 million. The symposium hall buzzed with anticipation. Students filled the seats, many carrying tablets displaying RIS's distinctive logo. Faculty members who had once dismissed Priya's ideas now competed for introductions. Dean Wilson himself escorted them to the stage, lavishing praise on the visionary Westlake alumna. Hypocrisy at its finest, Priya whispered to Nathan as they took their seats. Strategic reframing, he countered with an amused smile. He's positioning the university as instrumental in your success. When Priya rose to speak, the audience fell silent. She surveyed the faces before her. Eager students, attentive industry representatives, and faculty members who didn't recognize the profound irony of their presence. Innovation doesn't follow established pathways, she began. True breakthroughs emerge when we question fundamental assumptions, even when, especially when, conventional wisdom labels such questioning as unrealistic. Her presentation wove technical achievements with the human story behind them, crediting the early believers who sustained her vision through rejection. Throughout, she emphasized persistence over vindication, collaboration over individual genius. The most valuable lesson I learned at Westlake wasn't in any classroom, she concluded. It was the understanding that transformative ideas will always face resistance, and that finding the right partners who share your vision is more important than convincing skeptics. The standing ovation that followed felt like closure on a chapter long overdue for ending. As they navigated the reception afterward, a familiar figure approached. Ethan Blackwood, former golden boy of the department, now looking considerably less confident. "Impressive presentation, Priya," he offered, extending his hand. "Your success has been unexpected." "Only to those with limited imagination," she replied pleasantly, shaking his hand with professional courtesy. Nathan watched the exchange. With quiet satisfaction, remembering the stories Priya had shared about Ethan's condescension. Later, as they walked through campus, she laughed suddenly. "What?" Nathan asked, enjoying the sound of her unburdened joy. "I was just thinking, we should send Professor Lancaster a retirement gift, a fully functioning RIS home system, perhaps." "Generosity in victory," Nathan approved, "though I suspect he'd claim he motivated you through strategic discouragement." Their laughter echoed across the quad, attracting curious glances from passing students who didn't recognize that they were witnessing the return of legends in making. The Westlake visit marked a transition point. Following the symposium, demand for RIS technology accelerated beyond their most optimistic projections. Major utility companies that had previously dismissed their approach as too radical now sought partnership agreements. Regulatory agencies began crafting frameworks specifically designed to accommodate their distributed storage model. 18 months after Catalyst's initial investment, RIS's valuation exceeded $1 billion, earning Priya the distinction of becoming one of the few women to found and lead a unicorn company in the clean technology sector. More meaningful than the financial milestone, however, was the real-world impact. Their systems were now operating in 14 countries, enabling communities previously dependent on fossil fuels to transition to renewable sources. The success brought new challenges. Larger competitors attempted to replicate aspects of their technology, leading to patent disputes and market positioning battles. Scaling operations globally stretched both their technological infrastructure and organizational culture. Through these challenges, Priya and Nathan's partnership provided stability and perspective. "We're approaching the inflection point," Nathan observed during a strategic planning retreat at his Marine County home. The leadership teams from both companies had departed, leaving them alone with spreadsheets and market projections. The next 12 months will determine whether we remain a specialty provider or become the new industry standard. Priya nodded, familiar with the pattern from studying other technological revolutions. We need to make the platform more accessible while protecting our core intellectual property, like establishing a new technological language that others build upon. But we remain the most fluent speakers, Nathan suggested, instantly grasping her vision. This synchronicity had become their greatest strength, the ability to complete each other's strategic thinking, challenging assumptions while maintaining shared purpose. Their personal relationship had similarly evolved into deep partnership, neither subsuming the other's identity, but creating something greater through their connection. On the anniversary of Catalyst's investment, Priya and Nathan arranged a special event at RES headquarters. The entire company gathered in the central atrium, no longer a converted warehouse but an architectural showcase of sustainable design powered entirely by their own technology. 7 years ago, Priya addressed the assembled team, this company existed only as sketches on coffee shop napkins and prototypes rejected by professors. Today, we're transforming how the world stores and uses energy. She gestured to Nathan, inviting him to join her. Conventional wisdom told us to compromise, to adapt our vision to existing limitations rather than creating new possibilities. Instead, we found partners who believed in expanding those possibilities. Nathan took her hand as he added, true innovation happens when vision meets persistence, when technical brilliance combines with strategic patience. What we're celebrating today isn't just financial success, but the power of partnership to transform ideas into reality. As applause filled the atrium, Priya turned to face Nathan directly. Which brings me to one more partnership I'd like to formalize, she said, her voice carrying through the suddenly quiet space. From her pocket, she removed a small box, opening it to reveal a simple platinum band. Nathan Reeves, you believed in my vision when everyone else saw impractical dreams. You gave me the tools to translate innovation into impact. You've been my partner in revolution. Would you consider being my partner in life as well? Nathan's expression shifted from surprise to profound joy. I thought I was supposed to ask that question, he remarked, drawing laughter from the watching. When have we ever followed conventional expectations? Priya returned with a smile. Never, he agreed, taking the ring. And yes, absolutely yes. The celebration that followed merged personal and professional milestones, a fitting reflection of how their individual journeys had intertwined to create something neither could have achieved alone. 2 months later, they found themselves in Mumbai, introducing Nathan to Priya's parents before their wedding ceremony. As they walked through her mother's third restaurant, Priya recalled the message that had sustained her through early rejections. Sharma women don't shrink their dreams to fit other people's imagination. I think you've more than lived up to that standard, Nathan observed, watching her mother proudly showing off photos of Priya's accomplishments to her staff. We both have, Priya replied, squeezing his hand, by refusing to accept limitations defined by others' lack of vision. Their journey from ridiculed dreamer and junior analyst to industry pioneers had transformed not just their own lives, but the very framework through which the world understood energy systems. The partnership they had forged, professional and personal, proved that the most powerful force for change wasn't technology alone, but the human connections that empowered innovation to flourish. In the final analysis, their greatest achievement wasn't measured in patents, valuations, or market share, but in a simple truth they had demonstrated through their shared journey. When visionaries find partners who amplify rather than constrain, their ambitions, seemingly impossible dreams, become the foundation for a new reality.